6:03. Can you go click this
Not giving me
screen?
the option to record in cloud.
Whew. Scholar technology.
It's
Figured
not
out.
giving me the option to record in cloud.
That's okay. I'll help you figure out how to move it over.
All right, we all set? Okay, so it's 6:04 and we're gonna call the September 6th meeting of the Norfolk Board of Education to order. First on our agenda is public comments. Oh, I don't think I printed our nice little speech.
Here.
Do you have that with you,
I
Ginger?
have last time.
We like to, before public comment, we like to read our policy just so that everyone is clear about how we manage public comment. The Norfolk Board of Education welcomes public comment. We ask that all comments be limited to 5 minutes. Please know that it is our policy not to address comments immediately. Rather, when appropriate, we'll follow up after the meeting. This allows our business meeting to stay focused and provides time for comments to be thoroughly considered. It's also in accordance with Robert's rules of order, and it keeps us, keeps everything, makes sure that everything is available for FOI reasons. Okay, so that said, are there any members of the public who would like to comment? How about online? Okay, great. Then we will move on to the next item on our agenda, the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of August 23rd. I assume everyone received their minutes in their package.
I move we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 23rd, 2022.
One thing I noticed at the bottom, the second to adjourn at 3:55 and adjourned at 3:34. That timing.
Oh, I see. Okay, so we would like that correct. We need that
Pending the
corrected.
Change
Yeah.
in
Okay.
time.
So we'll make a motion to approve the minutes pending the change in the time and the reversal of those timepieces. Is that?
Also, it says Miss Barbara Evans. It's Sandy, Alexandra, not Barbara. Yeah. Under public comments. So just a name correction on that.
Pending those two changes,
Okay,
I move we adopt the minutes of the regular meeting, August 23rd, 2022.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Opposed? I will abstain because I was not at that meeting. And so does Doc. Okay, moving on. Superintendent's reports. I know you received the bills for review. If anyone has questions about those, please bring those up now.
Do we have this one?
Oh, I skipped correspondence. I'm sorry. Yes, correspondence. We received an FOI request from Jessica Listorti, which has been, she has received that information now. That was something that we got through correspondence. We also, the board received a letter from Melissa Aslin that will be discussed later. I know that I believe that you've all received it. Superintendent's report.
So we met 2 weeks ago. There's nothing new to report other than we've had a smooth opening of school, and the principal will speak a little bit more to that. And I know we have an executive session, and I want to be able to make sure we get to our form with plenty of time. So I'm going to defer to the next report.
Okay, thank you. Principal's report.
I passed that out to you. Again, we just met 2 weeks ago, but I wanted to thank the board for the 3 half days for which we were able to conduct meaningful professional learning for our staff. We discussed school safety protocols, school discipline, and had opportunities to collaboratively plan. And also the meet and greet, which was scheduled for the day before school, was very well attended. And it was a great opportunity for students to see their classrooms and meet their teachers. The upcoming events are listed below. If you have any questions for me about those, I'm happy to answer them. And when we last met, we had an enrollment of 63. We have had 3 new students enroll, and our total enrollment is 66.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for the principal or regarding the report? Okay, we'll move on to our standing committee reports. Now, it has just been a couple of weeks since the last meeting, and we are right at the beginning of the school year after our summer break. So I know that I don't believe any of our standing
Yeah.
committee meetings.
Curriculum we just met today.
Oh, the curriculum meeting. Okay. Would you like to give a report on that?
Sure. Amy is our chair, but I'll just give a brief synopsis because we've just started school, but let me see. Shiloh Garceau, who's our math teacher, is working individually teaching certain classes, but also training and working with the remaining classroom teachers to do illustrative math. So all of our classes are doing illustrative math this year, which is the new math program. And literacy, we approved to do the new ELA reading and writing curriculum, but it's on hold right now because of the publisher has actually put it on hold. So we're still working with the Ed Advanced consultant, Mrs. Valentino, Mrs. McIntyre, and the teachers to use the Orton Gillian, is that correct?
Orton Gillingham, yep.
Gillingham approach to explicit phonics instruction. So it's still using phonological and phonetic. That's a tough word to say. To have phonics in. And they've purchased a new resource called Hegarty, which all of the Region 7 feeder schools, elementary schools are using. So it is like common practice throughout the rest of the districts. As far as technology wise, all of the students have gotten their Chromebooks and their iPads. As far as the staff, they had upgrades to their hard drives. They have a new program that not only tracks all of the devices, but keeps an inventory of like devices that commonly break or have issues so that we can see if there's anything wrong with maintenance and upgrades. And they can run remotely to see what's wrong with devices. We're still working on the wireless update with the firewall and the server. There's a back order on that, so that's still pending.
I did notice though that we now have the QR codes for the Wi-Fi. That's
Right.
nice. That's good.
So people are asking, what's the password? And then having to share it. So that's good. And as far as the new school psychologist, Ashley Buono, she is working with the SEL, the social emotional learning and ruler with K through 6, pulling in for into classes and working with them. So we will continue to have more initiatives as the years go, but the year goes on. But that's what we reviewed today.
Great.
Any questions? No? Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, looking at the other committees, I don't think anyone's had time to meet.
So for policy.
Oh, that's right. You guys tabled the policy last time.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone has had a chance to probably review it since our first read was back in April. So I'm hoping that we can do the second read of the drug and alcohol-free workplace policy in the October meeting. And I'll submit for first read during the October meeting, some other policies with the committee. We'll talk about that at the policy subcommittee meeting.
Okay. So we'll have our second read in the October meeting, and then we'll be ready to move forward on that first read for the next. Okay. Okay, great.
Just PTO. We have PTO as our first meeting tomorrow. It's 6 in the cafeteria in person, and there's a Zoom link. It's just been posted to social media and an alert will go out through Blackboard.
Also, the PTO has their ice cream social on Friday. All are invited. The ice cream is free. It's at 5 o'clock. It will be on the playground. We had originally thought we would have it down on the field, but decided to move it up to the playground. It gives soccer a little bit more space and, has the kids be able to use the playground equipment. Also, the PTO has invited Meadowbrook to come on Friday. And I spoke to the manager there today and sent her a flyer and that, and she said that she will talk to the residents. So hopefully we'll have a nice crowd. Okay, so I think that completes our standing committees. That will move us to ad hoc and unfinished business. So this is the part of the meeting where I would really like to address a lot of the comments that were made in public comment in our last meeting. There was really quite a few questions and comments there. As many of you know, I was unable to attend that last meeting. So an ad hoc subcommittee of Ginger, Jay, and I met to review that and to discuss the content of the comment. We did our best to extract what we thought were the main areas of concern so that we could discuss them as a board and respond to them, together the best we can. If any members of the public feel that something was missed, please do let us know and we'll be happy to continue to follow up or to follow up again. I thought the best way to do it would be for us to move through each of the topics we identified and to read some responses. Other board members, please, there's only been 2 weeks really since our last meeting and there's been a holiday and the start of school. So it's been some busy times. If any other board members want to chime in, please ask you to do so. So in the area of staffing and administration, one thing that came up or there were questions about was what role does the Board of Ed play in teacher evaluation and hiring decisions? So Jay, if you could help us understand that.
Sure. So the Board of Ed hires and evaluates the superintendent. It sets the budget, participates in contract negotiations, and defines overarching school policies. It does not play a role in hiring teachers or staff. Staff evaluations are done by those trained and certified to do them. Board of Ed members are publicly elected volunteers. All teachers and staff are hired using a search committee and interview process. The search committee, composed of teachers and other staff, gives the principal and superintendent their recommendations, which are used to make final hiring decisions. References and certification requirements are vetted before employment offers are given, and these are standard practices across everywhere.
Yeah. Also, there were quite a few questions about what the staff changes were precisely and why did they happen. So between June and September 22, 4 teachers and 3 staff members did not return to the 2022-23 school year. Now, the reasons that people leave a job, they can be complicated and personal, but we believe we can share the following reasons provided on their exit surveys without overstepping or misrepresenting anyone. So of the 4 teachers, 1 teacher was non-renewed. 1 did not want to teach multi-age 5-6. 1 teacher did not want to teach the grade she was assigned to, and 1 teacher moved to be in a larger community. Of the other staff that left, the school psychologist pursued a new work opportunity. The curriculum coordinator didn't feel comfortable supporting the multi-age model, and the music teacher retired.
So another question that came up was, are all current classroom teachers certified? The answer is yes. There are multiple pathways to certification and all teachers are vetted properly before beginning employment. Another question involving that was the listing of the pre-K kindergarten position. And I want to confirm with Lauren and Mary Beth, but that it was posted on June 15th, 2022. June 16th. Okay, on June 16th on CTREAP. The REAP. It was removed on July 1st when Holly Allison was hired. That's
Correct.
confirmed. Okay.
Did that one. So communication. Oh, I don't have the exit survey.
Oh, do we
in there.
skip that one? That's
Or did I move it? I could have moved it. No, it's okay. Well, I'll just go. So what's the purpose in the history of the exit surveys? Because there has been a request for taxpayers, parents to see them. So a couple of years ago, we started doing exit surveys just to get a better picture, let people reflect and get their feedback as to why they're leaving. So the Board of Ed and the administration have been aware and quite focused on those small numbers of the school. And, when we lose anyone, it really impacts the community and the school. So in an effort to fully track and understand changes, we try to use all available resources to deepen our knowledge of the situation. And some of the exit surveys we received from teachers that just left were at the end of August, we received the rest of them. So we haven't had very much time to review them as well.
I will say that the comments of the exit survey on the staff who left have been the subject of a lot of conversation around town. They report dissatisfaction with the multi-age model and feelings of hostility in the work environment. They allege improper hiring practices and instances of retaliation. And those are really serious allegations. The board initially heard some of these claims earlier in the year during public comment. I think it was the April 22 board meeting, and we investigated at that point. Having just received these surveys after the August meeting, we'll investigate new claims and also consider any new information that comes to light there. But, you know, I do want to describe how we have handled reports of poor communication, dismissive comments, retaliation, all those sorts of things. So upon hearing these complaints, the Board of Ed chair, that's me, spoke to staff members to gather more information. I then reported my findings to the board. And I found that the teachers who made the claims were really unable to provide compelling evidence of transgressions. And even though there was no clear evidence of transgression, the board has had multiple conversations with our school administrators about issues of tone and school atmosphere. We recognize how really vital and important those things are. And we have asked them to respond to those assertions, give us context, give us examples. We've asked them to provide a list of all the avenues that they have for communication. And actually, at this point, I would really like Lauren or Mary Beth, if you could talk to us a bit about, you know, how and when you have staff meetings, when you get together, how feedback is shared, you know, what those sort of typical exchanges are, and what ways there are to work together as a group here at What's On.
So we have monthly staff meetings. The agenda is shared ahead of time, as well as, you know, opportunities for staff to place topics on the agenda for the staff meeting and staff to consider. We have a faculty council, which is comprised of myself, a classroom teacher, and a support staff member. And the purpose of that committee is to elicit questions, concerns, ideas anonymously from staff. And we meet monthly. Prior to the meeting, the members will either talk to staff members face to face, take email, you know, elicit information via email. And then at those meetings, if there are topics to discuss, and it's appropriate to discuss it at that meeting, we'll talk about it, brainstorm ideas. Those agendas are then shared, every month with staff, so people can see how those issues are resolved. They're also brought up at staff meetings. Our professional development leadership team meets monthly. We set the professional learning calendar with feedback from the staff. Every time we have a professional learning session, there's anonymous opportunities for staff to provide feedback on that session and any other things that they would like to make us aware of. I send out a weekly communication to staff that lists upcoming events. There's a place for celebrations and, kind of nuts and bolts stuff, some of which comes out of the committee meetings and other questions that staff have. Every year we do an end of the year staff survey. That staff survey is shared with staff, and there's a link to it in all of our school goals. When we look at, data trends over time for, we do that for staff, students, and families, and we use that information to set goals. Last year, we did a mid-year survey based on the recommendation from PDEC. And from that, we did additional professional learning, responded to some staff concerns. I don't know if I've missed anything, but those are the ways currently that we elicit feedback, ideas, questions, and concerns from staff. If I think of any other ones, I'll let you know. Mary Beth, did I miss any?
Climate committee.
Oh, yeah, we have every school is required to have a safe school climate committee. We have one that meets monthly. That's where we do a lot of the analysis of the survey data, and then we set goals school-wide. I'll set goals, we set goals to, respond to the feedback.
So things like the PDEC committee and the Safe School Climate Committee, are those, who are the members of those committees? How does that work?
The committees are open to broad representation. I have
So like you ask for volunteers to join
Yep.
them?
Yep, and some people are voluntold, like our school psychologist is on the safety committee. She's on the Safe School Climate Committee. Josh has served on the Safe School Climate Committee previously. A parent representative is required. That's like a legislative requirement. So it's volunteer. Last year, Caitlin Chabot, our school psychologist, Darcy McIntyre, our special education teacher, Erica McCleary, and Jess Coughlin, as well as Mary Crush, were on the Safe School Climate Committee with myself. PDEC was made of Shiloh Garceau, Rachel Ancillo, Debbie Talon, Aaron Dubecki, and myself. Faculty council last year was Darcy McIntyre, Caitlin, Holly Alexson, and myself.
So Lauren, all staff are invited to participate?
Yes.
And anyone who wants to be on those committees is on those committees. We don't reject
Typically,
anybody.
well, sometimes I ask people so we have better representation, like Deb Talon last year did not start on the PDEC committee, and we really felt that we asked her to rejoin because we wanted a classroom teacher, perspective on that committee. I also last year asked a teacher who was at the primary level, Erica McCleary, to join the Safe School Climate Committee. So again, we had broader representation of the staff. So there are times where I ask just so I can hear all the voices.
Right. But I guess my point was, if someone wanted to be on those
Yes.
committees, we've never said no.
No.
Okay, well, thank you for that information. Just wanted to get a feel for, the kind of the structures that are set up to help with that, to help with communication and each of those things. I do see your hand, Peter, but during our business meeting, we won't accept. Oh, you can't hear us?
Well, that's another problem I have.
Oh, well, I'll speak up and I'll ask, please, each of our.
I've never had
participants
that
here.
problem before.
You said that, I'm confused. You said how many staff left? You said that, I didn't hear the number. When you said, this staff member left for this reason. So at the end of last year's school year, how many staff left? You counted them off.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I told you there were three teachers left and 3 staff members
So a
left.
total of 6 people left.
I'm sorry, four teachers, 3 staff members. So that's 7 people in total left.
7 total have left today.
Yeah, right. Mhm. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I really thought I was loud enough, but I'll keep my theater voice on and keep trying.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Where are we? Oh, when are meetings and how does Botel share news? That
So
can-
our meetings are generally held on the first Tuesday of the month at 6 PM. We are presented with a schedule. Hold on, it's in here. And we approve it. So this current year the dates were proposed November 9th, 2021 and approved December 7th, 2021. So we approve the dates and times for all of our meetings. Since we are a municipal board, the meeting calendar is filed with the town hall and all notices are posted there on their website. The Board of Ed also lists meeting dates on our school website and offers virtual options for attendance. We record and post all meetings, agendas, and minutes. In addition to regular monthly meetings, we may have several smaller subcommittee meetings that meet regularly on varying schedules. We usually stagger like every other month. Then these subcommittees report during the regular full board meetings, which is what, I just did that report for curriculum and technology. Our administrators also host Hour with the Administrator meetings. They usually hold them on the second Tuesday of the month at 6. And our PTO meets monthly, typically the first Monday of each month at 6 PM in the cafeteria. There is a weekly newsletter sent out by the school, and we will post flyers and email announcements for special events and notices. We also post on social media when we can for that. Classroom teachers communicate via email and notes home directly to their families. Information is shared on the school website and social media channels. And in addition, the Norfolk Now and the other newspapers are invited to cover special events and happenings. I know personally, I usually write at least 6 to 8 articles a year for the Norfolk Now about the Botel. It's called Botel Beat usually. So, we make sure that information is gotten out to the larger community and available.
It's a real, I really feel like that's something the board has really tried hard to do, to share information. So if we're always looking for new ideas for how to do that. So if there are other avenues that anybody here can think of, or anybody in the public wants to suggest to us, I would love to hear from them, and they could let me know. Okay. Jay, can you tell us about the COVID vaccine policies?
Sure. So Botel followed, continues to, and will continue to follow all guidelines from the state of Connecticut COVID mandates for school. As it stands right now, there's no requirement for staff to be vaccinated or to provide testing results. However, during the time that testing was required weekly, there were multiple staff members who were unvaccinated and who submitted to weekly testing.
I don't understand the words you just said. Said what?
What part? The whole thing?
No, the last sentence.
There were multiple unvaccinated members of the staff that submitted to weekly testing when weekly testing was required.
But they're unvaccinated.
Correct.
There were questions about unvaccinated staff members and whether that was a problem. And so we just wanted to answer that, to say that we do have unvaccinated staff members, and that we followed the policies set forth by the state mandates. At one point, that meant that staffers had to submit to weekly testing. All of that is gone now. That's all in the past. But it was a functioning part of our school for a while.
I just did not hear the words.
Okay,
I know the concept.
okay, sorry. All right, what impact does enrollment have on our increasing taxes?
Right. So the Botel budget has not increased. In fact, it's lower now than it was 14 years ago. And we have consistently been returning unused monies to the town. So increasing taxes in Norfolk are no way a reflection of the Botel budget. And the rising cost per pupil figure does not really equate to rising costs in our budget.
$5 is $5. Okay. So another question, what efforts were being made regarding consolidation or other areas for mitigating population decline? So the consolidation vote several years ago was divisive. I think everybody could agree to that. Colebrook voted against consolidation and chose to support their existing school setup. Meanwhile, Norfolk remained dissatisfied. This board has discussed and considered many different ideas. Some of the ideas we've looked into include accepting tuition students, examining other schools' responses to declining populations, considering options for other schools to combine with, working with realtors and the EDC to support PR initiatives and to bring families to town, things like that. In terms of consolidation, Colebrook clearly remains Botel's best option. They face similar issues and population trajectories. And the board has been working to repair the Norfolk-Colebrook relationship, find as many ways as possible to share our resources. As it stands, Botel and Colebrook Consolidated try to share cultural events. We go on our 6th grade trip together. That's our end of year capstone trip. We invite Colebrook students to our after-school programs and to PTO-sponsored family events. As a district, as a whole, we share resources quite widely. The area superintendents meet together regularly. We try to use the same specials teachers, so there's consistency across the district that way. We participate in an oral consortium, and to name a few of the things that we do. We're a small community, and the value of working with our neighbors is clear and absolutely compelling. And it's something as a board we really encourage to happen as often as possible.
Someone would just like some clarification, Judy. She said she checked the Board of Ed minutes and there's no real information shared. It states superintendent's report and principal's report, but it never gives what is in the report. This is poor
So-
communication.
Okay, well, we will have a Q&A session immediately following our business meeting. So I'll be happy to like kind of address those things then. I think that's probably the right time.
And the
this
meetings are
point-
posted online.
And the meetings are posted. But we'll talk, we can address that. If you could ask Judy to keep that question in mind and bring it back up, I'd appreciate it.
Another thing that's kind of brought up is what efforts are being made by other town committees to bring more families to Norfolk, because we, as a Board of Ed, we can't control who the population is that we serve. So if anyone has questions, there is a list of committees in town and their meeting times. Feel free to partake in their public comment and ask them if what, they're doing, because all the town committees work together for the town.
Okay, so then under the topic of education and school operation, a question that came up quite a bit was, are Botel students prepared for 7th grade? And there was some concern that Judy Palmer, Fran O'Mara didn't feel that. And so I had asked our superintendent to specifically ask those questions of those folks. And I want to ask her to, if you could share with us what they said.
So I did call Judy Palmer and I just shared with her the statement that was made by our first selectman that he had made the statement that in a conversation with Judy Palmer, she had mentioned that the sending schools were not sending kids who were prepared, and that the teachers at Region 7 had to really work extra hard to close the gaps. And I meet with Judy, the superintendents meet with Judy every month. For the last 2 years, we met every week. We collaborate, we have these conversations, and Judy has never said that. So I called and I said, so Judy, can you kind of respond to that? And she said, Mary Beth, I am absolutely flabbergasted. She said, I never would have said that. She said, it's not true. And she said, I have no recollection of even how that could have been misinterpreted. She said, so I'm going to call the first selectman. So she did, and then she called me back, and what she said to me was, yes, Matt said he said that, and he wasn't quite sure of the context, but he thought it might have been 2 or 3 years ago, and that it could possibly have been around the conversation when we were talking about mathematics. And I said, well, Judy, I remember that conversation because the group of superintendents said, we all agree this math is not working. Our kids aren't gaining. We know they're going to middle school without the skills they need. What can we do? And that was the point. Some board members might remember that we looked at the existing math program that had been adopted many, many years ago and said, it's not getting the job done. We did some research and as a district adopted illustrative math instead. So we've been implementing that for the last couple of years and addressing those gaps. Other than that, Judy said, I cannot imagine, what would, where that conversation could have been misinterpreted. So, based on Judy's conversation with me, and I did ask her for a statement, and I hate to put anybody in the middle of anything, but she did say, you can certainly report that after you sent me your email, I called Matt to clarify. He recalled a conversation 2 or more years ago when I spoke about students coming in from elementary schools, the different backgrounds, which proved difficult for the middle school, and that we were having difficulty in the area of mathematics. So, Judy has said multiple times to us, and as a matter of fact, when they got the Blue Ribbon Award, she said, this isn't just our award. This is a celebration of all of the schools in Region 7 because you send us wonderful kids and, it's really an award that goes to all of us. So again, some, difference of statements, but that was what Judy told me. And she again reiterated that, certainly we've had many valedictorians, we've had many kids that over the years that they're there from middle school on who make honor roll, high honors. And so in her opinion, from what she said to me, is that, our kids are going prepared.
We're going to have a question and answer session right after the meeting is done. And so if you'd like, I can give you a notepad if you want to write it down, but it's part of this is our business meeting. And so we're responding to the things that came through public comment.
Excuse me. And by the way, in my capacity, I am an ex officio member of the Board of Education.
Oh,
So
you can speak.
like everybody else on the board, if I wish to speak, I can speak.
Please.
And I'd like to comment on that. I did have a conversation with you. And perhaps it was 2 years ago that we had this conversation. But Judy and I, as well as with Mike Skyers, we meet multiple times a year to discuss the budget. And we're going to Regional 7. And I will stick by the conversation I had with Judy Palmer that students from the feeder schools to Regional 7 were not going there prepared. And it took 2 years for them to bring their grades up and prepare to get into when they got to 9th grade. So that was the conversation I did have with Judy Palmer.
Okay.
Can you just speak
This-
up? They can't hear you, Matt.
He said that he did have that conversation with Judy Palmer, that the feeder schools, it took 2 years for the feeder school math scores to come up. Is that right?
Well, math scores to be prepared in general.
To be prepared in general. But so I think though, the thing I think that's important for, I went to review as a board, is my understanding is that is of the feeder schools. Not that Norfolk is singled out as a particularly poorly performing school.
And I
That the
was
feeder
thinking
schools
that
in
statement
general.
when I was 2 weeks ago, where I singled out Hotel School. I think I made the statement that the students that were leaving, all of the feeder schools were going to Regional 7.
Thank you for clarifying. And I don't mean to say that you did say that. What I want to say in the public sphere is that that is not the feedback that we've received from the school, that when the school meets and they talk about gaps, they talk about them in terms of district almost always, or like that is the message that's come to us. And that when district performance issues are found, then they try to make adjustments district wide, like with the math scores. I know, like, for instance, the Colbert school scores are often talked about in terms of, Norfolk is following Colbert. As far as I can, for as long as I can possibly remember, and I don't know if there's others on the board who can remember differently, but I think Norfolk has trailed Colbert always. That is not a recent thing. It is not a multi-age response. It is not a current administration response. It seems to me that has been something that the board has struggled with and has tried to understand. Colbert also leads in front of New Hartford and Barkhamsted. Just to review those pieces. But, okay, moving on. Discipline was discussed quite a bit in our public comment. So we thought it was a good idea to discuss how discipline is handled here at Botel.
So Lauren, I think it's probably more appropriate if you could maybe talk about the information you gave a few board meetings back and kind of highlight discipline versus punish. And then also maybe address ways that bullying is being addressed. Please.
Well, I'm going to start with that. Last year and the year before that, we received no reports, no formalized reports of bullying from students, staff, or parents. So we have no cases of bullying to report to the staff or to the board. Certainly, we have evidence that sometimes kids are mean to each other. And when that occurs, we, work with those kids to, deliver logical, natural consequences to help them avoid that behavior in the future. Frequently, we will contact parents when this occurs because parents want their children to behave appropriately, just like we want them to behave appropriately. And parents are very willing to partner with us when that is the case. So at Botel, our school discipline program has many different facets. Our school rules are identified and shared through our SOAR program. SOAR stands for show self-control, offer kindness and respect, achieve our goals, and be ready to learn. So those 4 basic rules have specific definitions that guide teachers in teaching those rules and guide students in learning those rules and guide all of us in responding when those rules are broken. Our school psychologist has brainstormed with all of our students. What does it look like to demonstrate those rules in the cafeteria, at recess, in the hallways, when you're in the bathroom? And then classroom teachers use those guidelines in helping develop their classroom rules. How are we going to work together, behave appropriately so we can do our best learning? Alongside that, we have our ruler program, which is developing students' social emotional learning. And those two programs are intertwined. Our staff believes that relationships matter, that your emotions and the context matter. But we also believe that when people make a mistake, it's our opportunity to help them learn, and they learn through a variety of different responses. Sometimes all that's needed is a simple conversation. Other times, what's needed is an after-school detention or repeated lunch. Kids love this, when they have to come to lunch and hang out with me instead of their friends. Classroom teachers deliver natural and logical consequences. I do, the school psychologist does when it rises to the level of our intervention, and certainly all of our support staff, particularly those who work in recess and lunch, need to deliver those consequences at times. However, we also believe that proactive measures and positive reinforcement are also tools that help shape discipline. And so as part of our SOAR program, we recognize and give feedback to kids when they are demonstrating the rules as expected. So that SOAR program, along with ruler and ongoing instruction from all staff, is the basis from which our school discipline program is built. And then when students are not behaving appropriately, we use a variety of responses to get students to behave in the appropriate manner. Do you have any other questions for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just kind of a
I
review
will
of the
also let you
discipline
know
policy.
that, as I mentioned in one of the professional learning sessions at the beginning of the year, we spent an entire session talking about our school discipline program. And that will be an area that we will continue to work to improve based on feedback. And our Safe School Climate Committee and I, along with our staff, are making adjustments based on that feedback.
Okay, I'm getting worried about our timing.
Right.
It's 6:47. We really wanted to have our kind of more open discussion at 7. We're just gonna deal with this, kind of go through this last
Yeah,
piece.
it's last.
Yeah.
So just quickly, why multi-age? A lot of people want to know why. The move to multi-age wasn't a decision that was made lightly by the board. It was made with the express goal of best serving the educational and social needs of our small decreasing school population. Education is a communal experience, and extremely small classes of 3 to 4 children aren't ideal learning environments. The multi-age model helps mitigate the impact of those numbers. In addition, it builds differentiation into teaching moments. So differentiation, which is like adjusting lessons to meet each child needs, which could happen if you have 30 kids in grade 3, you still have to differentiate amongst those 30 children. So if you have grades 2 and 3 together, you're doing the same thing. And that has been a longstanding goal of the board. So small schools have pros and cons. Of course, the con is scarce resources and a lack of diversity, but a pro is the capacity for personalized instruction. So Botel students should receive a personalized, customized education, and Botel should be able to offer that to them. And of course, with like the PIP program, the personalized portfolios that the students do, and the projects that I know the 3-4 class did last year in groups, they did very personalized, sort of self-directed projects. The multi-age model sort of embeds that into the system.
And just there are a couple of handouts over here, frequently asked questions and a perspective on,
The
policy
multi-age.
perspective on multi-age that people are very, encouraged to take.
So that's the last
Yeah.
question.
Okay, all right. So those are some of the things that we thought were were the loudest kind of pieces that came up in the public comment time. And so we did want to try to address those as directly as we could. As I said, we will have our Q&A session for those who would like to continue that conversation. But we do have one more item on our agenda, or a couple of items. We have a new business item, and within that, we are going to move to executive session to discuss former employees' performance. Now, in executive session, the public is not invited to participate in that. So to make things easier, I think our board will walk away for a moment, and we'll pause our recording, and then we'll come back and we'll be able to move forward on our agenda to the adjournment.
I
So
we move to executive session.
all those in favor? Opposed? All right.
Move out of executive session.
Okay, there's been a motion made to move out of executive session. Is there a second? All those in favor? Opposed?
John and Janet?
Yep.
Okay, all right, well, that completes the business on our agenda. I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. You could stop the recording.
No.
I'm sorry.